an important thing for us to do right now in this world of duality is integration. When we integrate the left and right sides of the brain, we're less likely to be triggered by something or to speak out in anger or give an opinion without the wisdom that comes from just stopping and looking at the big picture. Because we all have triggers. As much as I've been working on integration, I still have triggers. And so knowing that you have triggers and you make a conscious effort to be able to breathe your way through them rather than react, so that you can respond rather than react. It's a lifelong process. But this drawing meditation is something that assists in that integration of the left and right sides of your brain. So there are lots of things that come about with this integration. Not only can you observe the world without being so triggered, without letting that reptilian brain go, ah, yeah, 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 yeah. There's more peace in your life because you can just observe these things that are going around you on the news, with your friends, with your family. You can observe them without getting hot under the collar. But there's more, because the left and right sides of the brain are associated with the different energies that we as humans have. There's the masculine and the feminine. And the feminine is normally associated with the right side of the brain, where there's the big picture. And the masculine is associated with the left side of the brain, where there's verbal and math and a linear way of thinking. So both of those are needed. And some people are stuck on one side or the other. And so when you integrate them, it actually changes the structure of your brain. When you recognize that you would like to be more balanced from left to right, and you do exercises and, what's it called? In the moment, when you're just in the moment and observing yourself, your awareness changes. Instead of becoming a puppet, you become a conscious human being. And the reason I say puppet is that we've all had that puppet stage. It's part of the indoctrination, or we can just call it training, or we can call it learning, or we can call it self-protective behaviors that we learn as children. One of those self-protective behaviors is many children try to do art, or they enjoy doing art when they are young. But a teacher might have a certain idea about what is supposed to be happening. And so the child will be criticized. Criticism hurts, especially if a child has done something that was fun and they liked what they did, but then somebody came along and said, no, that's not the way to do it. So many children never do art ever again. So that's why this meditative drawing, looking at shapes, looking at lines, drawing without looking at the paper, is such a wonderful way to tap back into the right side of the brain. Because it's not your fault if your drawing looks funny. In fact, before you start, you can write at the top, done without looking at the paper. So you have an excuse. You have an excuse for it's looking silly. And it really is fun if you do faces. You could start with your own face. Just look in the mirror and study all the lines and shapes, and every place your eye goes, have your pen, your gel pen, move on the paper. And it's okay to pick it up and go someplace else, but don't look at the paper. because when you look at the paper, it flips you back to the left side of the brain, where the verbal side, the bossy side, will say, that looks awful. And then you will have lost it. You will have lost your meditative state. So part of the trick of this is to just let it be. Just let it be. And that's the trick of life, is to just let it be. Because you can spread the peace and joy that you feel to all around you. Everything feels it. All the people, all the plants, all the animals, the whole universe can feel that peace that you get when you are integrated and able to observe the world without the reptilian brain going nuts. Now, that reptilian brain is useful, because if a bear were to come along behind me right now, I'd need to plan. I might need to remember that bears like running people. And so curl into a ball, don't do anything. It's the fight or flight. That's what the reptilian brain is good for. The problem is, in our world today, there is so much that triggers the reptilian brain. Everything on television, the news, even the weather. I haven't had a TV in my house for, I don't know, 8 years. Something like that, I can't remember. And it was hard at first. But after I got used to it, it was wonderful. So I think this has gone too long. Even though I signed up for having more than 15 minutes, I see now that it's 16, so I'm going to have to do this in 2 parts, unfortunately. I haven't finished. The masculine and the feminine need to be balanced and integrated in everyone so that you can access both, so that you can access the big picture, looking at things from a distance and putting your information together in new ways. That's what the right side of the brain does. The left side of the brain keeps track of all the facts and figures. And the right side puts them together in new ways. That's creativity. And we haven't started talking about the DNA yet. We are all born with 12 strands of DNA. That's what the scientists call the junk DNA. They think there's only 2. And in fact, there are only 2 that are activated. For the older folks at birth, a lot of the children are being born with more activated. But this integration, this drawing, without looking at the paper, the studying of shapes and lines, and being in a meditative state, it can help to activate that DNA, to bring it back together, so that instead of 2 or 3, we can start activating all 12 strands, which brings wisdom, which brings a lot of things, which is for another video or perhaps even another channel, because I'm mostly about music and art and meditative drawing. There are lots of videos out there on DNA. Thank you for listening. Sorry this will be in 2 parts. I can't get YouTube to give me all the time I want. Until next time, this is Kristen. Thank you for listening.